it seems like this year there's a lot of potential for multi-man matches, team matches, whatever the case may be, and usually I'm against it 'cause, like, alright, you're overusing you're watering down the product in a way. But if you're gonna make this the biggest WrestleMania ever, and with the talent that you have on the roster, especially talent that it's not that they're not being used because they're not good, there's not enough space. And WrestleMania is 2 nights to begin with. There's a lot of ambiguity with a lot of titles and things heading into the new season of WWE. I'm kind of for it and going all in on the WrestleMania 2000 mentality and just having as many people on the card as possible.
My guess is 3. I'm thinking there's gonna be 3
That's not bad.
multi
I could see that.
I'm thinking there's gonna be a multi-women match for the women's tag titles. I think there'll be another one for the men's. And then I also think I'm leaning towards Logan Paul US title having a multi-man match. I think we're gonna see a multi-man US title match and not an intercontinental title match. So
That would
that's
be
my
more cool.
guess. And I feel like it fits the vibe for all of them because I feel like the women's tag match would be fine because they don't really focus on the women's tag titles as it is. So it's not like, oh, there's a clear number one contender here. And I feel like this gets, like you said, as many of the women on the card as possible. So that would allow Kaden and Katana, that would allow Indy and Candice, it would allow a bunch of other girls to be on the card.
Mhm.
And they could put on a great match. And the same thing with the men. There's really no front runner for the men's tag titles. So why not put a bunch of these guys out? Because then you could have the Street Profits, you could have the New Cash Republic, you could have whoever in there with Judgment Day. So and then with the US title, we'll get more clarity, of course, through SmackDown, but based off of Elimination Chamber, they were hinting at Logan going with against Randy, against Kevin, against LA Knight, like it could be AJ Styles for all we know. So it feels like that would be a pretty sick match. Like that's a lot of guys that could be in a match, and then you're making sure that they're on the card and in a match that you know is going to be good. Because sometimes multi people matches are not very good because there's too many or something. It's just like can be a giant mess.
Mhm.
But I mean, this would be like Elimination Chamber point to like 2.0, basically,
Mhm.
so I could see that
1,000%.
that happening.
And it only can happen really because there's so much potential on this roster, and not only that, it's the person who's in charge. Like,
Mm.
Triple H running the show now and the feel that it's already had or the feel it already has, with the speed of it, it doesn't feel like it drags, 3 hours feels like, "Holy shit, it's
Yeah.
been 2 hours? Oh my god, we've gone through so much, but what about this?" Like, your mind starts to race, and that was, I would say, the biggest complaint in the old regime, where it just felt like it was dragged on and it was a lot of storylines going like this.
Imagine how much money I spent on going to Raw during that era. Just
Yeah,
like it was rough.
I know. 2009 to 2011 was pretty bad, and that was my
Uh,
hiatus, so
that was when I was going. 2010 to
oh,
2013, that was when I was going to a ton of
mm,
shows.
that was
So,
when it was getting better.
a little, but
2012, I would say it spiked back up again
yeah. Well, that's because
because
like the summer of punk. So, but I would
it's
say
CM Punk
too,
Save Wrestling. That
yeah.
is
I would say also about the US title match is I think that would be a great way to heighten the value of the match of the title. And I think especially having it be showcased in that way, because it could be a 5 or 6 man ladder match for the US title. That feels a lot bigger. And especially if you were to compare it to just maybe a singles match for the Intercontinental, you don't need to make it the Intercontinental Championship a big show. It doesn't need to be because the value there is because
Mhm.
of what Gunther has done. The US title is not the same. So it feels like it does deserve a grander showing at WrestleMania. And I feel like having those guys in the match and then also maybe adding it be a ladder match or something like that makes it even more exciting because then all of these guys are fighting to be US champion. Like that would be a big
That
deal.
means something.
Yeah.
And this thought from what you said just sparked in my mind. What if they do the gauntlet match for the IC title, whoever wins, wins, but whoever loses, maybe they want their Mania moment, and
Mm,
they go over and try to fight for the US title,
yeah, maybe.
and then that could lead to a shakeup for after Mania. Like, there's a lot of different things you can do there
Mhm.
because there's a lot of openness,
Mhm. Well,
not a
and
lot of
because
dots connected.
as we've said, you have to take into account what Triple H is trying to do, and he is trying to not overpack each night because he wants every match to have proper time and to be able to do what they want to do without feeling rushed while also not having fans sitting in an arena for 8 hours. So, as there's so many people that feel like they deserve to be on the card and in a lot of ways as we've said, unfortunately, it does have to come in the form of a multi-person match. And
Mhm,
I think that when you make it even like a title match, like I feel like that's a at least a little bit more entertaining for the participants, but also for the fans because it's
mhm.
actually for something and it's not just, oh, we're just throwing these 5 tag teams against each other because it's going to be a fun match. And it's like, yeah, but they're not fighting for
They're not,
anything.
yeah, and then you're
So,
getting into TK booking, and it
yeah,
just
so
makes
it's
sense.
like that would be fun, I guess, like the men's match last year was okay, but it's like, but at the end of it, it's like, oh, okay, great, great match, that's it. So,